Hey everybody, it's Double Crossed Anime. I'm Whooper, and now Mario's gonna talk.
Hello everyone, I'm Mario.
Alright. High Score Girl, Volume 5, Banana Fish Episode 10, Sirius the Jaeger Episode 8, View Starlight Episode 9, and Episodes 3 and 4 of Serial Experiments Lane are up for
Mhm.
discussion tonight. Where shall we start?
You can decide that.
Okay. Man, we got through the intro quick this time. Let's do High Score Girl, Volume 5, which
All
will take
right.
us all the way up to Chapter 33.
Yep. So they stole out on the match between
Yes, they did stall out.
between Hidaka and Haruo.
Yes,
I,
they did.
I remember there was some like middle sections between when she announced the match to the eventually match, but I didn't know that they do that for the whole volumes.
I mean, in true high score girl fashion,
Yep.
Hidaka is given like a little cliffhanger, a little bit of spotlight, and then immediately the manga is just like, oh, we're gonna talk about Ono for you
Yeah.
know the next six
Well,
chapters.
but that's the thing about the manga. It just like it it know what to focus on. So like Hidaka like is never like the person in the spotlight for. I mean like we have the main character with Hidaka is one of them, but like in truth, it's only Haru and Ono as the main characters.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. Although I wouldn't say that the manga always knows where to focus because I think that chapter 31 and the first half of 32, those were the
Yep.
flashback
All
chapters.
right. Yeah.
Uh, I didn't get a lot out of those.
Yeah. It's yep. I actually agree with you on that because I think if they want to do the flashback, the flashback isn't that like necessary to begin with. But if they want to focus on the flashback, it's a bit too long.
Yeah. I mean, I expected to like it more than I did because it kind of went back over the same events from the first few chapters of the manga,
Mm-hmm.
but from Ono's point of view.
Yep.
And we got Zangief, her main character in Street Fighter 2, kind of providing
Mm-hmm.
commentary the same way that Guile does for Haruo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I mean, I already knew that her life at home was so terrible and oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I guess we learn a little bit more about her sister.
Yep. So we get some more new characters. This like some more highlights on the supporting characters on the in this volume.
That's true. We get like two, right? Her sister and what's her face?
Uh, just say uh
The goth girl.
the graph girl, right? Oh
I
yeah, we. I was thinking of all the character actually.
oh,
I
what
was
character?
thinking of Haruo's mums and of Ono-san's what's his
Goda
uh
Sensei.
yep, Goda Sensei's.
Yeah. Oh, and I wrote down the goth girl's name. It's Nikotama-chan.
Alice, is that Alice's?
Who?
Arishu? Alice. I'm not really sure though. I'm not really sure the name of.
You're thinking of someone from Serial Experiments Lane when you say Alice.
Maybe yes.
That's Lane's friend, Alice. The goth girl's name is Nikotama-chan.
All right, Nikomata. Hey. I just write it down so I
Oh,
don't
maybe it
forget.
is Nico Mata. Maybe I was
All right,
dyslexic for a second.
all right yep. Uh,
We can just call her the
yeah,
goth girl.
the golf girl. All right. I'm
She
good with that.
she doesn't make much of a blip. Like
No,
she's an interesting character, but we get introduced to her very late in the volume, and then her main function is to um, give Hidaka like a last minute power up before her fight with Haruo.
I
Haruo.
yeah, I think she just she's there as the service of like putting more Hadaka, like straight more light into Hadaka characters. So like
Does she
she
even
the
shed any light? She
oh
just
she
she just seems to be like a vitamin that Hidaka takes for more gamer skills. Like, is she even a person? I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Oh, all right. So at the chapter that we're talking about, yes, he just just there to provide to power up Hidaka's. Um. Yep. All right. I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, based on the way you phrase that, she's going to become more significant. What does Meow? Does she and Meow get together or
Nah.
something?
So yes, I just for what I take her role is like Meow compared to Haru's.
Oh, okay. So she's going to be like, oh, that's nice. That's kind of nice to get a little teaser that she might become friends
Yeah,
with Hidaka
yep. Just
beyond
yep.
just being like her easy win button.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I think I still like her characters, but yes, her character doesn't do much except for
Not yet.
yeah, not yet. I especially if we're talking about the supporting characters now, I like the scenes between Haru's mums, uh, senseis, whatever her name's, Goda Sensei is it,
Yeah.
and Haru's.
Yeah, that's the one in at chapter 29, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so chapter 28 kicks off the volume, and
Yep.
that's the one where Haruo is like, she gave me this challenge, but I can't really. He keeps saying I can't accept those conditions.
Mm-hmm.
He's worried about taking the fight and like what might happen as a result and blah blah blah. He's kind of twiddling
Mm-hmm.
his thumbs a little bit.
Yep.
And then that's the one where we also meet Makoto, Ono's sister.
Yep.
And then chapter 29, that's the one that you liked.
Yep. Yep.
So you can talk a little bit about like why you like that scene.
I like it because I think I like it because Haru's mom, the way Haru's mom step in and defends her son. It's like it's a very natural thing for a mom to defend her son, but the way that she defends, I think it's pretty good. It doesn't like belittle what Goda Sensei's like belief,
Right.
but it's she stand like she stand for her son, like on the reason that she bring up is it pretty much like makes sense.
Yeah, she doesn't trample Goda's philosophy, I guess, that right
Yep.
now is you really need to be focused at this point in your life and that you can just delay games and romance and all that stuff. You can push it until later. Once you've gotten the job and become the salary man or the head of the household or whatever. But I don't know, man. I do think that Haruo's mom is cool. Like, it's cool that she's like young and beautiful and like full of energy and kind of quirky, and that she loves her
Mhm.
son and that she's well spoken. She has all
Yep.
those things going for her, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I like. Do you remember in the previous volume where Haruo has gone out to look for Ono, who's missing,
Yep.
and he goes over to the next town over, which is like called like Kawasaki or something.
Yep.
Um, and I remember they show the clock on the wall at one panel when Haruo calls home. He calls his mom because he doesn't know what to do.
Yep.
It's past midnight, and her
Mhm.
her young teenage son calls her on the phone, and her response is, "Oh, what's up?" Like she
Well,
is not concerned about where he's been, whether he's safe, what he's doing. I think she's too permissive.
all right.
Honestly, I think she's too permissive, and I think Goda is too authoritarian.
All
You need
right.
to be somewhere in the middle.
Well, regarding that, she's like a single mom, and secondly, she's always the one who talk to Haru that just do whatever that you think is right.
I also think
So,
that's wrong.
all right.
leaving it all up to your kid, like just letting your kid essentially raise himself
Mm-hmm,
in a manner of speaking.
yep.
I don't think that's a very wise parenting strategy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not wrong though. It's just like one kind of parenting. Yeah, but I see your point. Mm.
Yeah. So I mean, the fact that it just like for me, especially as someone who did a lot of studying about like familial relations and child and parent like attachment rates
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of parenting is necessary to create like a sense of mental stability in your child.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I have a lot of opinions about that sort of thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
she's being portrayed as like the cool mom who in addition to being very lax and hands off also
Yep.
has everything together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't I mean it's nice for Haruo cuz he loves video games so much, so he has like
Yep.
the perfect parent because he can just do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, think about it. Think about what kind of kid he is. I mean, we get all sorts of inner monologue from Meow because that seems to be his main role in the story at this point. Is the
Mm-hmm.
mangaka just uses him to give us a look inside of Haruo's mind, and
Mm-hmm.
he's always like, "Oh man, you're gonna be so popular with the ladies. Oh man, he's so kind and he's a great person." But he's like an obsessive video
Gamers.
game nut
Yep.
who's performing badly in school. I don't know, man.
Well.
I'm not totally buying what High Score Girl is selling.
All right. Um, hmm. Well, um, uh, also a fact that Haros and Onosan and Hidaka and Meow, the only characters, are now like 16 in this 15, 16. So I would say that they are okay enough to deciding by themselves, which the backup of the parents. So like the parent also need to support. So it's like the way that she support them to book the hotel to like to head them to the hotels. So I think she still like like does her role.
Yeah, I mean
It's
she's looking out for him,
yeah.
just not especially closely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. Well, yes. That's what
Oh,
that's I agree.
yeah. All right, enough about that.
Yeah. Let talk about the new characters. Makoto. So Ono-san's Akira's sister, older sisters.
Right. Who looks very much like her.
Yeah, that actually I think like the mangaka intentions. Did you know like to have characters who look exactly like Ono, like the sister look exactly like Ono, but the personality is like completely contrast.
Right. Yeah, I mean it makes sense that they look so similar because
Their
currently
sisters.
Akira, well, yeah, they're sisters, but also Akira right now is serving as or she's filling the role that Makoto should have filled
Yep.
because
Mm-hmm.
like Makoto just decided I've had it with all these lessons, all this responsibility, and she just gives up her title as the heiress of the Ono
Yep.
household.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result this gigantic burden is placed on Akira
Yep.
or Akira, however you
Ak-
say it.
Akira, I think.
So Makoto's negligence is the reason this story is playing out the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons,
One of the reasons.
which is terrible.
All right.
But also,
Uh-huh.
I can't hate Makoto because the way that she rebels against her super strict
Yep.
household is kind of funny. Like the
Y-
I remember the panel where she says, They just think I want to play Arrow Gaze all the time." I mean, I do.
And then she said like all the famous eroge games.
Yeah, like she just had her list of all her to play games
Yeah.
on the tip of her tongue.
actually one of them was made into the anime movies that's last year. You know that?
Really?
Yeah. What? I don't remember the name though, but one of them was the anime film that was like an hours long, directed by one of the uh, e- uh, oh, I don't remember the names.
Huh.
All
Okay.
right, so she
Well, I mean,
was in
Eroge adaptations always make great anime.
yeah, oh, wow. Nah, it actually like a better one. So that Yaoi, and it's Eroge's based from Eroge's,
Oh,
and
Dokusei?
yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
I watched that recently.
Oh, you watched that already? Is that good?
Um, I think so.
All right.
I mean, it's the best boys love anime that I've ever seen. Uh, of course, I haven't seen too many. Like I'm not really familiar with the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's the movie had a very sketchy, loose art style to it that was kind of
Yep.
intriguing. I don't know if it really fit with the theme of the film. Maybe probably that like love and adolescence are messy,
Yep.
so you portray them messily.
Yep.
That's probably the idea they were going for.
Yep.
I mean, to anyone listening, I would recommend the series if you're, especially if you don't know a lot about like yaoi or boys love stuff in general. It's probably the perfect one to get your feet wet with. It might be like the shining example for the genre, honestly, for all I know.
Yep. The directors who was working in the Penguin Drum series. So that's
Really?
why, yeah.
I mean,
So that wa-
Ikuhara directed Penguin Drum.
yeah. So she was working in assistant with
Ah,
Ikuhara's. That's
okay.
why. So yeah, they have some relationship between her, the guy who directed Revue Starlight, and Ikuhara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, we got off track.
Yep, I know. All right, so her characters, I like her character. I like her laid back attitude, which
Yeah, me too.
is really direct contrast to Akira, who doesn't talk, who's still very stiff, who's still like just he's the boy that she like every times,
Yeah.
and we get like the whole bunch of more time and of Haruos and Onos all together before they depart.
Yeah, they go to a summer festival,
Yeah, they yep.
and
Which is
that's at the end of that scene. That's where we get Ono, like kind of placing her head on his chest,
yeah.
and then walking away, and they haven't seen each other since.
Yep. So all I have to say is poor Hidaka. It's like she was raising the stake really high, so that on the next volume she like completely disappear.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that seems to be the playbook.
yeah.
But I will say that I felt a good deal of sympathy for Ono in this
Hmm.
volume, and I think part of it was the flashback chapters, but more than that, having the butler like go out of his way to
Yep.
create that little gaming haven for her, like with the
Yep.
Game Boy and the games and the charger,
Hmm.
only for that to be stripped away by Goda Sensei.
Hmm.
Just having a character that is looking out for her and is so kind to her, and
Yep.
to have even that thwarted,
Crush. Yep.
yeah, that really makes my heart go out to her.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the butler is the MVP. I mean, he's the best character of this volume.
I agree.
Yeah, he's great. And it. I will say that the flashback chapters,
Mhm.
more than fleshing out Ono, they gave me a new perspective on him because he started out telling her, oh, don't go to arcades. They're like
Mhm.
hives of scum and villainy, and it's just a bunch of
Del-
delinquents.
yeah, that's right. Delinquents.
Yeah, he started out with that attitude, but when he saw how passionate she was about gaming, he
Yep.
changed his tune.
Yep.
Whereas her parents, who we still have yet to see,
Mhm.
and her her tutor, they don't have that flexibility.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. All right. I think that's enough for High Score Girl. You have anything else you want to talk about the shows, the
Uh,
manga?
yeah, I mean, I spent too long talking about Haruo's
Haru's mom.
mother's her parenting style, and there are other things that I could talk about. But honestly, I mean, this there was a little bit of wheel spinning going on in this volume. Like they're
Yep.
stretching it out because the cliffhanger was not resolved. In
Yep.
fact, it was barely spoken of.
Yeah, but we still have like the last the last half of the last chapter. They come back to that, which like like nothing ever happens. Like,
Yeah,
alright,
it was actually unclear to me from the way that those last few pages were laid out whether they were actually in the building together playing against each other.
yep.
But then near the end, there are a couple panels like back to back where they both put in their coins on the opposite ends
Mm-hmm,
of the machine,
mm-hmm.
and then you realize, okay, it's actually starting up.
They're actually starting up, and I really like the panels where he that got shaken up, so she was anxious. What's the word? She was very nervous
Yeah,
as well,
anxious. Yes.
compared to Harold, who like pretty much like make up his mind.
Right. Yeah. Haruo did seem to go into that with like resolved, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
and they gave him like the all black shirt
Oh,
for that match.
yep,
So I'm not sure what the significance of that would be.
yeah.
Maybe it's to give his character a sort of consistency.
Mhm.
Like he's of one mind about this. He's not. He's no longer like anxious about it or worried about it. That'd be my guess, I suppose.
Yeah, but I like the way that the manga resolves their issues, their relationship issue through games. It just speak to some kind of like the core concept of high school girl, the
Yeah.
games, the coming of age, and like that those two twinning up together.
Yeah. There are moments. I think in chapter 30, that's the one where Haruo and Ono go to the arcade
Mm-hmm.
before the summer festival,
Yep.
and Guile and Zangief, their Street Fighter 2 mains, they talk to each other about like some of the lines were extremely like I don't know. It was like the mangaka was force feeding us the desired perspective, like what we're supposed to think.
Oh.
They talked about Ono being like a social lubricant for Haruo,
Yep.
and how they have a tantalizing relationship. These are direct quotes.
Mm.
Like we're similarly to how Meow's character, what his character is turned into, like a mouthpiece kind of.
Yep.
Those scenes were similar, and I don't know, not a fan of that.
All right. I'm okay with that. I think I enjoy on these, like these characters, the game characters, just like talking and like just having fun, talk, like commenting on
Yeah,
these relationships. So I'm okay with that actually.
I think it's pretty cute, you know, and it
It's a
certainly
bit
fits with the theme, and it's creative, and
it's a bit on the nose, but yeah, well, when you give some game characters like personalities like that, even if it's just for laugh, even just like sometimes a comic relief, it's still welcome side for me.
all right. So what I now that I've eaten up 5 more minutes of the podcast talking about a few more things about the manga, I think I've pretty much mentioned
Yeah.
everything that I wanted to. There's more, of course, but
Wow.
we should probably move on.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For all the important point, you just like spray them out, put them on the table because otherwise we will never get to it.
Yeah, I suppose. Speaking of
So
never getting to it,
yep.
when are we actually going to see the match between Haro and Hidaka? Like, I'm ready. I was
Hope
ready at the start of this volume.
hopefully next volume.
Yeah, I think we probably will.
All
All right,
right.
what's next?
Let's talk about the show that I maybe we don't have a lot to talk about. Maybe let's go to Sirius the Jaeger.
Yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this.
All right, go for it, man.
Okay, so this is episode 8. Um, it's I mean I think the episode was okay. I think it was fine. They're moving things along, you know.
Yep.
I will say you were right last week. You
Uh-huh.
thought that Yuri was gonna just go off to Sakhalin, however you say, the
Yeah.
name of the island. It's like off the coast of Russia, I think.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I thought that he was gonna, I didn't think he was gonna go to Sakhalin right away looking for the Ark.
Mm.
Um, but he did. So you were right about that.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
oh yeah, of course, credit where credit is due. And he meets Bishop, the blonde Jaeger, who smells like a vampire because he's killed so many of them, I guess.
Yep.
And
What do you think about his characters?
I don't know. I think it's fine. I mean, if you're asking, do I think that he's like actually a vampire? Is
Yes.
that what you're implying? I don't think
All
so.
right. Because yeah, I think his character is like a red flag to me. So I don't think he's a good guy.
Okay.
I will think that he will go against Yuli at some of the point.
So you think he is a vampire?
I don't think he's a vampire, but he it like make a pact of the vampire. Maybe because of the money, not because of the blood and stuff.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it is certainly conspicuous that he's acting alone and that he's not with his team.
Mm-hmm.
His reasoning is, the rest of my
Oh,
team is dead,
yep.
but and that he has that perfect excuse, like, oh, I smell like a vampire because
Yep.
you know,
Kill a lot of them.
yeah. So
Have blood in them. Yeah.
yeah, and he even smokes his cigar to keep away the scent, which reminded me of Ginkgo from Mushishi.
Yep. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't think there's any strong, like a compelling reason to suspect that he's a bad guy. Certainly, I mean, Yuri like reaches for his case with his weapon in it when
Yep.
when we're first introduced to his character. So that's I mean, that certainly like all signals are pointing to him being a vampire, but I don't know.
Yep.
Given the way that this show introduces characters and then fails to use them properly, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's totally plausible that he is a Jaeger, and
Yep.
he's just functioning as the guide that will take Yuri
Mm.
to this old researcher in the forest.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I think that he's not a good guy. He's not on the good guy side. It because of the show always tendencies to go for like bad guy and good guy. There's like very little in the middles. So yeah, because Yuli has some reservation with him already. I still think that he's not necessarily a vampire, but he's a Jaeger who have like some others things in mind.
Yeah, he's like a dirty cop, so to
Yep.
speak.
Right. Right. Yep.
I, yeah, I mean, you're probably right, honestly.
Mm.
Although I do take issue with the idea that the show doesn't have a lot of uh,
The well,
gray area, because I think Mikhail is like firmly in the
that's
middle.
yes. That's the only characters that in the middle. That's the part that I'm getting to now. So
Okay.
he's like one of the few characters, maybe the only characters who like in the middles,
Yeah, I'd say
and
he's the only one.
that's make him like the most compelling characters in the shows.
Oh yeah, and in this episode for sure, after what we learned about like the barrier that his dad put up, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's as though his father is literally rejecting him
Yep.
when he can't get through that red liquid barrier in the cave or wherever they are, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's certainly the most he's the character with the most going on. He's got the most conflict
Yep.
within him. His story is the most complicated, the most interesting.
Right.
He's the most dynamic looking character as well.
Yep.
He's just the clear star of the show, but he's not the main character.
Yep. And I also like that like he doesn't like his werewolf blood still like isn't completely gone. So he still try to get the Spirit Egg, but he at the same time he want to protect it. He doesn't want the vampire to have it.
Yeah, and he wants to use it as a weapon against Yevgraf.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really compelling of him. It's except for the fact that he was packed by Yevgraf.
Yes. So
That's mean that
he can't disobey him.
yeah, that's right. She's like hip puppet right now.
Right. And that's consistent with vampire mythology, because I think vampires have that ability to like control, to put people in thrall to them, and control their minds. But you have I imagine that Mikhail will redeem himself in some way. I mean, there are two possibilities. One is Mikhail redeems himself by betraying Yevgraf. The other possibility is he is unable to escape Yevgraf's control, and so Yuri has to kill him.
Yep. Well, two possibility can happen. So yep, I'm not leaning one or the others right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have enough. There's still 4 episodes left. I don't think we have enough information to call it.
But I can expect what will come next. I think Yuli, with the assistance of the old man that we see at the end, who were ambushed by the vampire. He will get to that place, that sacred place. He will somehow be manipulated by Yevgraf because Yevgraf was expecting him to come. And then like others, they are preparing everything in London. So I think the big five will be in London.
Oh, that's interesting. I had completely put London out of my mind, pretty much. Because I mean, how relevant are the other Jaegers at this point? They're Yudi's just like, bye guys, I'm gonna go leave and go where the plot is. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but remember that all of these other Jaegers, they tell him that they have some other stuff to do, and they will meet up in London, and even the girl who set herself to London, and even her father too. So
and the military officer guy.
Yeah, so everyone actually heading to London. So I think the big five will be there.
But Yuri won't be there.
Yuli will get manipulated by Yevgraf. So Yevgraf will have the Spirit Egg, and he go berserk, and then the big five will be there.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I think for the plot will come in for the next 4 episodes. Hopefully I am wrong.
That sounds like a decent roadmap, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it probably won't take place entirely on Sakhalin, since there are 4 episodes left. I can't imagine they'll stay in one location for like 90 minutes, however long that is.
Yep.
So I think that the old man in the forest, the researcher, I think he might be the Japanese agent who his name was tasked with finding.
Yep. So he was the one who disappeared 5 years ago.
Oh, I think it was like 15.
Of 15, all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, I remember it being 15 because when they first said that, I actually had a thought, like, what if he's Mikhail and Yuri's dad?
Oh, right. Yep.
Like, what if he cut contact with his government because he met this woman and he settled down to have kids? But then I remembered that their dad was a named character named Alexei. And that wasn't the same name as the agent who disappeared. So my theory was ruined.
Yep. So that probably is true. We will know for sure in the next episodes.
Yep. I'm sure they'll. Oh yeah, they have to beat the lowly vampires.
Yeah.
The lowly vampire twins. Oh brother.
The lowly twins vampire. Wow.
That's right. Yeah. I guess we'll. Like as far as the blonde guy's loyalty, whether he's good or bad. What was his name again? Bishop.
Yep.
We'll be able to see where his allegiance lies during the like pretty quickly in the next episode because of the fight with the vampires. We'll see what he does.
Right. Yep. All right. Anything else on the notes?
Nope.
All right. You want us to switch to other shows?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. On your
Banana
pick
Fish?
now. Yep. Let's go with that.
This just seems to be part 2 to me. Like the last week's episode and this one kind of function as a two-parter.
Yep. Yep. Same.
But I think I liked last week's more because there were some serious gaps in logic in this episode. Or
Oh.
that's not fair, but there was just some questionable choices, I think.
All right. I will tell you that it's not fair because the gap of logic is always what happening in Banana Fish.
I guess, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like if they just slowed it down. Do you remember
Alright.
like even from the
Yep.
very first scene I had this issue? Do you remember well, it's not the first scene, I suppose. The first scene is Arthur talking to Ash and being like, "Oh, we're going to give AG the drug and he's going to kill you." Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So then they take AG away and they lock him in that room.
Yep.
And as soon as they leave and close the door, he immediately grabs a chair and like throws it at the door. He doesn't even try the doorknob. Obviously, the door is locked, so he's not going
Yeah.
to be able to escape that way. But when you're put in that situation and you're still processing, like the state that you're in and
Yeah.
what you're going to do, you would try the doorknob first. But he just they like push him onto the bed, they close the door, and he immediately like you don't even see him stand up and grab the chair. The next shot is just of the chair, and his hands enter the frame and grab it, and then he throws it at the door.
Oh,
It's just so
alright.
haphazard and like silly.
Yeah. All right. I will tell you one of my theory or one of my thought that I was when I watching the this episode of Banana Fish.
Yeah, please
and
do.
That's one of the possibility that I really hope that it might turn out that way. Is that I remember reading some like, very mild spoilers from someone. They said that AG will become like more more vicious.
Vicious.
Yeah.
Huh.
Later on. So I do have a theory that like what if Ash being killed in these episodes, that would make like AG becomes like really angry, to say the least.
I mean, Ash can't die because then we don't have any more bloody, beautiful blonde boys running through mansions with like machine guns or whatever it is he had with their
Well,
shirts ripped open.
we will have like the beautiful Asian boys who will basically do the same things.
I
It-
suppose.
Because when they say the parting goodbyes, it feel like a flag that they will never meet again. And for at that moment, I really hope that the show would go that way. Like what if you kill the main characters, the main attractions, in like one third of the story.
Yeah, I mean that would have been interesting for sure.
That for sure, but yeah, I don't think the show will go that way. I think like 90 to 95% Ash will live until the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, the show would never make that move, right? Because the show itself worships Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Yep.
Chinese guy who's trying to rescue Shorter, Sing Tzu Ling.
Yep.
He encounters Ash in the mansion. Like he very easily slips into the lab somehow. Like if it was that easy, you could just go in a back door. I don't know how this entire episode works logistically. But he just goes in the back door and then he's immediately in the lab. And he fights against Ash for a little bit, but he's of course Ash like blocks his
Yeah.
knife with his gun, and then he's just like, get out of here. And
I'm
then
mad.
yeah, and then later, Singh, when he's talking to Yut Lung on the helicopter, he's like, "Oh, he was like a an angry tiger. He was so majestic."
I'm not even his opponents. I'm just very weak. Oh my god.
Yeah,
The thing about his characters, the new Chinese guy characters,
hmm
is that at first he set up to be like the new leaders of the Chinese gangs.
yeah,
Then he served as like the one who will take revenge on us because of Shorter Death.
right,
And at the end he was like Yut Lung dog,
right.
which is I mean when he get into the helicopter, you remember what Yut Lung says? If you want to save yourself, just go to the helicopters, and basically they kill the rest.
Yeah, that
And
was. I wanted to get to that point eventually, but go on, go on.
and he did, and he had even like no hint of remorse,
I
like to completely like left his friends, his gang behind. And talking about how awesome us is, that just doesn't make any sense.
exactly, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh man, when the
So
helicopter's descending and Yut Lung is like, "Will you come with me, or do you want to be executed here with your friends?" And then
all
after he
right, I
says,
come.
after he says that, it just cuts to them in the helicopter. What happened to his friends?
Talking
What?
about Ash.
Where was his reaction to Yut Lung's like super cold-blooded threat? Why was he talking to Yut Lung at all after he
Yeah,
said that? It just makes no sense
you
whatsoever.
at that moment, I think that that guy is actually like one of Yut Lung brothers, like the one, the older brothers, the ones. But
You thought
I
that
don't.
Sing Suleng was one of the Lees?
Yeah, I thought that at first because it would have made sense than this,
I
but
suppose. Yeah,
but
kind of, but he's not.
but he's not. So it just doesn't make any sense. It just
Yeah, it's terrible.
my god. But a pair that just like one of these like very like sidelines observe thing that the episode have, because on the observe this thing is very like out of the windows.
What do you mean?
All right, the way that Ash like find himself jailbreak
hmm
is really unbelievable from start to finish,
Oh yeah,
all the way through.
his
And
trapeze. Not trapeze. What are those things? Handlebars? What are they called?
the what
You know, the
what
like the Olympic event where you have the rings.
yeah.
He's like, in addition to being a medical genius, a well-read consumer of high journalism, an elite hacker, a beautiful man, a wine expert. He's also like an Olympic level gymnast. There is no way he will ever die. I'm pretty sure he's immortal.
And you know what, now he become like a Rambo, which
Yes,
is awesome in a way.
I guess. Yeah.
And like all the plan regarding like Papadinos and Arthur, it's also really like implausible. Like they would tell us, uh, they would feed us on the information that like what here's what we're gonna do, and the moment we hear that, we know that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, because Ash is gonna win.
Yeah,
He's
that's
the
right.
best.
And I don't know the reasons why like they would leave us and Max and Ibe-san like on the same at the same place.
I mean, they were all chained up.
Yeah,
He didn't expect
well,
Yut Lung to. I mean, but isn't it kind of weird that Golzine, who is like this kingpin of the underworld, Why would
Yep.
he trust an agent of the Lee family, who he's been at odds with for so long?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, like to put Yut Lung in there, it's like for this to happen. So he is a very, you know, like calculated characters to actually put him into the story like that,
Yeah.
because he was no part of this story to begin with. Um,
Oh, do go ahead.
what else? Yeah. Getting to my point, you know, because they all chain up, but they could talk something else. So like the wise man would separate them so that they don't have anything in contact.
Or just
But
kill Max and Ibe-san.
that's right,
Just
because
kill them.
they have no point in the story. They have no point into like his revenge. And and I even get to, you know, like Papadino plan of, you know, the plan of the night is that to kill the next potential candidate of president,
Yeah.
American president. Oh my
Dude.
god, that
The worst part about that was how when they discover his body, the people in the hotel,
yep.
just the random people, they're like, "Isn't that the next presidential candidate?" And then the
my-
woman commits suicide, and then it cuts to Papadino and Arthur waiting for the
Yep.
big shots to have that meeting, and Arthur's like, "To think you'd kill the next presidential candidate." Who talks like that? If he's that important, they would use his name.
Yeah,
You don't. You wouldn't say, "To think you'd kill the next presidential candidate." Like that. That is just awful dialogue.
yeah. Well. I know the reason though. Like I know for a fact that in Hollywood movies they don't refer to, you know, the characters at of the president of the United States by name. So they just state like this is the president of the United States, and they will refer them as that.
But he wasn't the president. He was a presidential candidate.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about the last election when it was Trump versus Hillary.
All right.
You would not say the next presidential candidate when referring to one of them in conversation. You'd use their
Yeah.
name.
And that absurd to begin with is how they put the banana fish drop
We don't know.
into the woman's, because apparently she is protected as well.
We don't know. It's just magic. It's just the magic of banana fish, both the drug and the series.
Yes, and oh my god, that show. But apparently like people very love it.
Yeah, it's one of the more popular shows of this season.
I'm really glad that, like on the side on the blog that Lenlo covered that instead of me, because I will do nothing but whining.
Yeah, I was really optimistic, man, after the first episode. I mean, I just really loved that bar fight at the end. With that
Yep.
just that beautiful
Yeah.
direction and animation. And then now we have this.
Now, but I don't think it's a bad episode. Like it's ridiculous for sure, but it's still entertaining. That's what I give. It's like it's a lot of dull moments, but if you take it at it is.
I wouldn't say there are any dull moments. I would say there's a lot of dumb moments.
Yeah, yeah, but if you take it as it is, it's still an entertaining piece of thrillers.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I do think that like the lapses in logic and the really kind of lazy Code Geass-esque storytelling, they kind of get in the way of my enjoyment of it. Like I honestly, if I never saw another episode of Banana Fish, I would not be upset.
All right,
But
which is fair enough.
yeah, well, we'll see if we continue with it past September.
All right.
Um,
Anything else on your notes?
Yeah, just really quickly about Yut Lung.
Mhm.
He stole the rest of the banana fish samples. Like
Alright.
he confiscated the rest of the drug, and he paralyzed the scientist who was working on it.
Yep.
Probably so that Ash would kill him, because he orchestrates the breakout
Yep.
by letting Ash escape. He also it lied to Su Ling
Mm-hmm.
about Ash and Shorter. He says because he tells the guy, what am I trying to say right now? He tells him, "Oh yeah, one day I'll let you know why
Yep.
Ash killed Shorter or how." But he doesn't tell him the truth. So he's leading the guy to think that Ash killed him in cold blood.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that Yut Lung is actually the bigger villain at
Yep.
this point in the series. Like he's the more tactful, more threatening antagonist compared to Golzine.
And remember the fact that he will go against the Lee family as well. So he wait for the opportunity, the right opportunity to kill them, to
Yeah,
revenge for his mom.
right. I wonder if if Yut Lung will ally himself with Golzine, or if he'll just go rogue because he has the drug now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if he has the capability to use it the way that Papadino magically can by killing the next presidential candidate.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see like what his next move gonna be.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that he will put the Chinese guy go against Ash, but I don't know what he gonna do with the with all the remains of the banana fish samples.
yeah, I don't either. I mean, this show is getting pretty hammy recently. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just they're just going as big as they can, as often as they can. So part of me thinks that he's gonna like use it on his brothers or something.
Oh, that would be nice. That would something, yeah, something interesting to see.
I suppose.
Yeah, but the way the show framed that, I think that Ash and Edgy gonna be, like not together for a while. The way they say, like make sure you come back alive and
Right. Yeah.
all this stuff.
I would ordinarily I would say you're correct, but
Yeah. This.
we're just burning through chapter after chapter of material here, so they might see each other again in the next episode. Who knows?
Yep. Yep. But the fish go really fast, so yes, I can't say anything for sure.
Yeah, I am interested in if there's one
Mhm.
aspect of the show, one character, one element that I'm still interested in. I think it would be Yut Lung at this point.
Yep.
Just what's next for him.
Yep. Right. All right. Anything else?
No, I think it's review Starlight time.
All right. Review Starlight. Whew. It's it's really good. Review Starlight. Like for me, the last three episodes that they focus on Banana Egg is like one of the show best.
Hmm.
So that's for me. I think this episodes does a really nice job of like closing Banana's Egg characters developments,
Yeah.
and
So
it does.
it does kind
Yeah.
of close it out. She doesn't seem to be the big like final boss that we speculated she might have been.
Yep.
So is that Maya now at this point? Is she?
All right. So based on your voice, you was not that enthusiastic about this episodes.
Yeah, not that enthusiastic. I thought it was
All
okay.
right. All right. Tell me more about that.
Um, I, I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, if you're really enjoying it, I don't want to dump on it that hard. Like,
No, that's all right.
and honestly, I wouldn't dump on it that hard. I don't think there's that much to complain about. I think the show is carrying on at a reasonable level,
Yep.
you know. But I was wowed by last week's episode,
Yep.
and we moved back, you know, because we moved away from Banana last week, and it was more about Hikari,
Yep.
and we moved back to Banana. And honestly, I think that maybe I'm just not that wild about Banana as a character because I thought
Yep.
that 7 and 9 were a tier below 8
Mhm.
episode numbers.
All right.
I don't think that Banana's voice actor
Uh-huh.
gives a great performance
All right.
in general, but especially here. Like previously, the fact that her voice is a little bit monotone and lacks the same expressiveness as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, to me that was okay because she was kind of shrouded in mystery early on. We didn't know a lot about her, and then
Mm-hmm.
later, once we learned about the time travel that was happening, the time loop, she was
Mm-hmm.
like a villain and like a threat, an
Yep.
antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
But in this episode, this is her big humanizing moment, and there are scenes where she has to laugh and where she has to cry,
Mm-hmm.
and where she has to like really emote.
Yep.
And I don't think it really goes over very well. I don't think that her voice actor is really cut out for
Yep.
uh, the job,
Yep.
honestly.
All
So
right.
that kind of hampered my enjoyment of
Yep.
things.
Speaking of the main villains, I would say that yeah, Banana is not the main villain, but for me, for now, the main villains would be the stage itself.
The giraffe.
Nah, it's not really the giraffe. It's like the whole auditions, because the people who doesn't get into the top girl, the top star, will lose their magics, will lose their what's the word from last week?
Radiance.
Radiance.
Or I think your subs had drive as the word.
Yeah, drive. Yep.
Yeah. I would actually I don't think I would phrase it that way. I don't think that like you're talking about the institution,
Yep.
the just the process of selection as being the villain. But I don't think I think it's the giraffe, because if you think about it, he like the way that he grants power to Banana,
Banana.
saying all he cares about is seeing what kind of stage the top star will create, what they will do with the power that's given to them. That's all he wants to see. Like
Yep.
when she's looping time, he at one point he says, and I think it was you who pointed this out a couple weeks ago. He says, "I don't know how many times we've done this. I don't know how many times we've looped, but
Yep.
it's irrelevant. All I care about is is to see what kind of stage you'll create."
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that sense, he's like reckless, and he's pursuing. It's interesting because he's not pursuing his own self-satisfaction. He's gaining satisfaction by granting the desires of individuals. But I think that's the point of the show, is that we shouldn't function as individuals. We should function as a collective. We should all work together so that all of us can be stars,
Yep.
not just one.
All right.
So maybe you are correct when you say that the giraffe is not the villain. Perhaps it's the mentality of individuality that really needs to be defeated here.
Yeah, maybe. And I would say that I'm a bit impressed by the way the storytelling of these episodes, because remember last week when I say that I don't see much of the interaction between Banana and Hikari. Like, to be more exact, I want to see more of how Banana reacts after after Hikari come into the pictures. So this episodes they explain that. So I can see why they skip Banana Egg from episode 8 and do it in this episodes. I can see now that it is the right time to expand more of the play itself. So we have like the first half of the story basically tell about the story of the stage,
Starlight. Yeah.
of the plate, and
Yeah.
yes, that's Starlight, and we can see the parallel between that story and Hikari's and
Karen.
Karen's.
Yeah.
So yeah, we pretty much know that it's now their story now. So I can see like how that going to like foreshadowing the final developments in the futures. So I think Karen gonna maybe die or put down or something.
Yeah, because that's what happens to what are the
The
girls'
stage.
names? It's
Ah.
it's like Flora and Claire,
Yeah.
or something
That's
like
right.
that.
That's right. Flora and Claire.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know
So
which girl is which. No.
yeah, I can't remember either. I should have written that down
Yeah,
because that was pretty important to the episode. But one of the girls has like lost her memory, which is what happened to Hikari
that's right.
when she was at the Royal Academy in London. But
Yep.
and then her promise that she made with Karen
Uh, yep.
is what
Bring back
allowed her
them.
to regain her memory.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then they try to reach the stars, which
Right. Which is what they're doing now. They're trying to become top star.
yep. But then it's backfire. Like it's like the star just I don't know. It just shy, and then the other girl just lose their life.
Yeah, she
Just
falls out of the tower. They're like on top of a tower.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
so
so yeah.
that's probably part of the reason why Hikari was so against Karen participating in these games is because she knew the story of Starlight, like from the book,
Yep.
and she recognized that Karen was like headed for the same fate as the
Mhm.
girl in Starlight. Um, so
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So based from last week, the banana and Hikari fight, in which after that banana just tell her about how tragic they're gonna become, and the story that we hear now. I think what happened next will be Karen will like go some sort of dying or disappearing or like losing herself later on, like
yeah,
in the climax,
perhaps.
and
Um,
then all right, yep,
Go ahead.
all right. So that's just one part of the story, and then next we see like uh we see the story in Banner Point of View and how she's like had nothing to lose. So now she had a stake. She had like the high stake that she don't want to lose to Karen, and she actually framed Karen um intruding to Hikari's stage audition on the first episodes as the main catalyst of everything. So actually the stakes are really high at this point, and I can feel that. I can feel the way she tried to include it Karen into like going back to the 99 performance, and I and the fight itself, I see the impact. I see how sad Manna becomes when everything just go out of her way, and how everyone try to move on. And basically the last scene as well, the last scene where she talked to Chuna, it's everything turned out to be perfect to me. It's like every single dialogue hit me. Except for the very last sequence where she just like smile and say yeah, it's one of your typical idol anime ending.
I thought
It,
there
yeah,
was I thought there was idol anime all over this episode.
all right.
Like the constant talk about shining and being a
Mm,
stage girl.
yep.
That's really I mean it's not just this episode that's guilty of that, of course, but
Mhm.
in this one you said that you felt like the stakes were established for Karen
Yep.
for Banana's character
Uh,
more than they were before in this like 3 episode arc.
yep.
But
Mhm.
I really didn't feel that way. I mean,
Mhm.
I already knew that she really found like a home at the academy, where she's
Yep.
studying now, and that's why she wanted to repeat things over and over. Like I already understood that,
Mhm.
and the way that this episode tries to reinforce that is just by giving us a lot of dialogue about how she just wants to keep shining and she just wants to keep standing on that stage and she just wants it to be the same stage where she's shined before, where she's shown before. I I don't know, man. I was getting real idol fatigue
All right.
from Banana in this episode, and I didn't like the fight between her and Karen. I like she even says in the fight right before Karen knocks the fastening what's that thing
uh,
called?
uh, uh,
Pin badge? What is that?
yep. Yeah. Well,
One of
let's
those.
just. Yep.
Whenever
Button.
she
I
yeah
just say that
button
button.
yeah I think that's right. When she knocks the fastening button, right before Karen knocks the button off Banana's cloak,
Yep. Uh huh.
Banana says, "Why are you shining like that?
Uh
Like
huh.
why are you shining so brightly?" She might as well have said, "Why are you the main character and not me?"
Uh huh.
I I just didn't. I was not feeling it at all. It felt like plot armor. Like Karen has to win here because she's the main character and she's shining
Well,
and she's a stage girl.
yeah. Well, for me, it's more. It's not like Karen had to win, but it's more like Banana has to lose. So that she have to give up all of her, like her dream about bringing back everyone back a year. So she have to stop looking back and start to
Yeah.
looking forward.
Yes.
So
And that's
yes,
exactly what Karen represents is constant movement forward
yeah,
together with everyone and not like dwelling on the
yep,
past or dwelling on yourself.
that's right.
But like even understanding that, I like why did Karen win? Just essentially because she has like the power of the main character, like the power of belief in her ideals, and she's just going to triumph because ideologically she needs to for the show to convey its
Hmm.
intended message, and that's very
Well,
like shonen to me.
yep.
So
Well, yeah. Well,
I
if
don't know.
you,
I just don't think I like Banana very much, honestly.
yep.
I mean, I think the idea of the time loop and of finally understanding as of episode 7 what the stakes really are for the review process,
Hmm.
um, that's interesting. I think the show was. I don't think it was wrong to go down that path. I just
Hmm.
don't like Banana very much,
Yep.
and I kind of wish though as though Banana her relevance, like her antagonism or her villainhood, whatever.
Yep.
I wish that were had been extended. You know,
All right.
I
Hmm.
don't think it makes sense for Karen to have defeated her so easily, except that Karen has to win.
Yep.
So
All right.
there's my gripes.
Yep. That's the perfectly fine criticism on that.
I
Well.
mean, still think this episode was pretty good. I mean,
Yep.
I just came up with 5 problems that I had with it, but I do think I think Review Star is still the best show of the season, and I
Yep.
think it's from week to
Uh,
week. I think it's still pretty nice.
yep. So yes, so I just tell you about how I like the show in the storytelling department. The
Okay.
visual, the visual, in addition, is still top notch. I really, it's one of the very rare show that like when you try to turn off the audios or the subtitle, you just see what happening on screen. You can still figure out what the story is going to say because
That's true.
yeah, because the just the visual storytelling is really good.
And also, a lot of the dialogue is just about stage girls and shining.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't really need it.
yeah. That's right. That's right. That's actually right. So yes, this show I think it speak more to me on the visual levels. So like it visual and its symbolism talk more to me than like what they means like spouting.
Yeah, I agree. Although I
So
will say that I've been watching Utena recently for the first time, and that show is a
uh
perfect marriage of like ear catching dialogue
and
and
symbolisms.
and visuals on top of that.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
wow! How many episodes that you watched the show already?
I've seen 7 so far. I just
Yeah.
finished the episode. I can't remember the characters' names because I'm bad, but the
Oh.
blonde-haired girl, who's
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
with the
Who
curls.
who look exactly like Marie Antoinette
Yeah,
in
kind of.
in Rose of Versailles.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just got finished with her episode where she's like heartbroken over, or rather than being heartbroken, she's like still carrying around that anger and that
yeah.
grudge because the relationship that she wanted to have with the girl
Yep.
Was crushed because the girl betrayed her to get to the guy. And
it's
what?
so funny how you don't remember all the character names. So she said like, oh, the grudge, the guy, the girl.
Yeah. Well, the grudge.
No.
I that's not a character name. I meant like her resentment.
All right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. I don't remember character names unless I write them down. That's why I need these damn notes.
That's all right.
Anyway, it was great. Like episode 7 was just top notch.
Yep.
Of
Uh,
This is
Yep.
a big tangent. We don't have to keep talking about Utena. It's my bad for bringing it up.
yeah. Well, let's just. All right. Anything else you want to say about these shows?
Oh yeah. Remember last week we were speculating about how many days there would be, like how many
Yep.
days of the review.
Yep.
This time I was correct because there are 8 days.
8 days.
Yeah,
Ah.
that was my speculation. Like, in order for it to be round robin and everybody fights everybody one time, there need to be 8 days. So this time, the review of Bonds was number 7, and the giraffe says there's only one more day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I actually can't recall like all the days. I will make a list of like all the days what the theme is. This one is like a reviews of bonding.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But the giraffe says there's only going to be one more. But I think there's a problem with that, which is that Karen has fought Juna twice in episode 1 and 2.
Nah. That was Chuna and Hikari, and then
Oh, and then Karen interrupts.
yep, that's right.
Okay, you're right. All right. So has Karen fought? Who hasn't she fought? She's fought Juna. She's fought Maya.
Yep.
Obviously, in this episode, she fights Banana,
She fought Claudine,
the blonde girl.
the blonde girl, when Hikari fights again Banana. So
Okay.
yes.
So that's
she
4. Did she
still
also
have-
fight blue hair and red hair?
No, so she doesn't fight the other two. So Karuko and Futaba, she haven't fight them.
Are you sure she hasn't fought one of them?
I'm thinking that yes.
Maybe in the background.
Maybe in the
Um,
background.
You know how sometimes there are those like little inserts of other duels that are going on.
Yep.
Oh
Do
wait, she
you-
also fought the Mahiru, right?
No, she haven't fought Mahiru. Oh yeah, she have. Yes, she
That was
does.
episode 5, the one with the really quirky battle.
That's right. Yep.
So
she only
it's
got
the
two left.
red-haired girl and blue-haired girl that she hasn't fought.
Yep. So like,
Maybe she'll
either one
fight
of
them as a tag team. That would be cool.
I really hope that the show will go there. You know, like playing as a tag team because why not? But yeah, I was looking forward to many of those. They do the tag teams. So yeah, it would be cool that you know like her and Hikari plays again, Karuko and Futaba.
Yeah.
There's one question that I want to ask you. Remembers like all those fight happening this week? Do you?
I don't remember exactly who was fighting who. No, but there were some other duels going on, weren't there?
Yeah. So who did Hikari fight again this week?
I don't remember.
Is that Futaba?
I have no idea.
All right. Let's just leave it for the next time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Let's move on to Lane.
Let's all love Lane.
All right. You just tell me before the postcard that you know that Lane draining your energy out, so you
Yes.
have to sit on the sofa with the
Oh,
laptop
I like
on.
laid down on my bed.
Oh, you laid down on your bed with the laptop on the top of your lap.
Yeah, and I just like propped my head up with the pillow. That was after I watched Lane though. Like Lane just made me tired enough that I had to do that to continue watching stuff.
All right, so tell me more about what you feeling of Lane's.
I mean, I'm still intrigued. I'm still interested. But this is the thing with these like Chiaki J Konaka series that are like really heady and experimental and kind of strange. They
Yep.
hold you at a distance, like even more than Ikuhara works do, which are like
Yep.
laden with symbolism, but at least have characters with like big personalities
Mm-hmm.
to draw you in. Lane
Yep.
is just experimental and weird,
Yep.
and moody,
Yep.
and oftentimes there's no sound except for just like the humming of electrical wires or of computers.
Yep.
So it just honestly sometimes it makes me want to go to sleep.
All right. It
Um,
just
Go ahead.
yeah. It just me, but that's the kind of shows always hold my attentions. I don't know why. I just like the time I'm watching Lane is like one of the fastest time I watch because like by the time it finished, I just like, oh my god, that finished already. It feels so quickly. That's
Yeah.
just me though.
Utena has
Yeah.
felt that way for me
Yep.
so far.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's so repetitive, which is like a miracle because usually when I'm watching an Ikuhara series, I'm like, yeah, I dig this, but has it been 23 minutes yet? Are we done?
Oh.
Uh,
Oh.
and
Talking about.
I kind of felt that way watching these
Alright.
episodes of Lane.
Yep.
All right, what were you
Alright.
gonna say? Talking about
Yeah,
are we done?
Nah. Just let's forget that. I just about to spoil you something, but
Oh.
it's not worth spoiling.
Okay, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like spoilers.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual episodes.
Yeah. So we got the episode 3 with its name Skype. What would it say?
Psyche.
Psyche.
Yeah,
And
but they're saying it in English, so they say Pashuke or something like that. But it's you would say it's psyche. It means like, your
Yep.
kind of your
inside the
ego.
mind.
Yeah.
Ego. Oh. Mhm. And it actually that's just the name of the one of the pact that you can enter the wire.
Right. But
Uh,
I mean that term also has like psychological
Effect.
meaning. Like your psyche is your consciousness basically.
Mhm.
I mean
Yep.
to put it very reductively cuz we could talk for 2 hours about the definition of the word psyche. But yeah, in the show it's a chip and it lets you merge with the wired,
Yep.
which Lane is getting ready to do. I mean, we see the chip in episode 3, but it's at the end of episode 4 when she says to her dad like pretty soon I'll translate myself into the wired.
Mm-hmm. So
But episode 3 is when we see the chip. How does she get it again? It's in her locker.
yeah, it's in her locker. Like someone gave it to her.
Right.
So I think there's like two main developments story wise, is that Lane become more sucked into the wire, and she has more personality now than the first 2 episodes that we've seen of her. So she's changing in the weight,
Yes. Yes,
which
she
is not really sure that is a good or bad thing.
Yeah, and I don't think the show will ever answer that question.
Right. And on the other hand, we have like the little story of the kids playing one of the game of Phantomas.
Yeah, that's in
Uh,
episode 4.
Yeah, that's like a virtual realities games,
Yeah.
which actually kind of mixing between the virtual world and the real world, in which they can tell apart, in which some of them apparently suicide, like jump up the cliff.
Yep.
The others like try to shoot and kill the person in real life. So
Yeah.
how do you make of those?
It was difficult to ascertain exactly what was going on in episode 4 because
Mhm.
so the first scene I guess having to do with that game was the one where the guy in the pink shirt who doesn't know how to use keys, he was trying to get into his apartment, he just cannot do it. And the little girl apparently shoots and kills him.
Yep.
But I don't think that they're using actual guns. I think the idea is that the girl. I mean, we see the girl in the middle of the episode. She's a real person, but she probably plays the game as well.
Yep.
Um, so I think the idea is that she shoots him in the game, and he is so tapped into the wired, he's so
Yep.
sucked into the game that it registers as like I don't know, his brain stops, his heart stops,
Yep.
something biologically happens to him. He doesn't actually get shot with a weapon.
Hmm.
Um, and then we see the same thing play out, but in reverse, where the girl dies on the
Yep.
roof in the
Hmm.
second half of the episode, the guy with the green shirt. And
Yep.
what's interesting, what's way more interesting about that scene as compared to the first one is that as he's running on the rooftop, we see him take something out of his pocket and smash it, which is some kind of like some I don't know, it's some kind of little miniature computer or device or something.
Hmm.
But even like some kind of virtual reality device, probably. But even
Yep.
after he smashes it, he's still in the game.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like you can't escape. Once you've given part of yourself to the wired, you can't get
Yep.
out.
Yep.
And then he kills the girl. And you can see that he's like miming holding a gun. He doesn't actually have a weapon.
Yep. Uh. Yep. Regarding the girls though, because I remember in when discussing about that game, someone mentioned that it's the game of like try to shooting others people on the games, but like the kids um eventually see that as it's like attack games. So I think that what the girl basically does. So she actually just play a game of tag.
Right, that's right. They have all that dialogue about the two games like getting blended together on the
Yep.
wired somehow.
Uh-huh.
That I didn't quite
Sure about.
yeah, like in terms of that being written into the show. I wasn't sure that that was necessary. I think it would have been okay to just have the girl be a participant in this game
Yep.
because I mean that would have showed I mean that would have contributed to the everlasting ever raging debate about, like are video games too violent when you've got that little kid
Yep.
playing
Uh,
one.
well, I think maybe one of the main point that this particular scenes try to come across is that for that girl it's just like one of the innocent games. So
Right.
like for other people it's become more like a violence, so they can't tell between real life and fake life and all those kind of stuff. But for that girl, it's just like one of the games, and she actually killed people without her knowing, and she actually being killed
Yeah.
by people on the games.
Yeah.
And also on another side, we have like increasingly story about the wire lens. So like everyone's seen her in the wall in the wire with
Yeah.
like the same different outfit, the same face, different personalities.
Yeah, when she goes back to Siberia in episode 3 or Siberia, however you would say it.
Uh-huh.
The bartender or not the bartender, the DJ.
Yep.
He says to Lane, "Oh, you're really going for the little girl look this time."
Mm.
And then when she is trying to figure out what the psyche chip does, and she talks to that table of middle schoolers,
Yep.
and one of them wants to go on a date with her,
Yep.
as like compensation for providing her with information about the psyche
Mhm.
chip. But he says, "I don't want to go on a date with you. I want to go on a date with the wild Lane,
Yep.
the other version of her." So yeah, there's more references to her being, on the wired already, and
Yep.
I mean that's just building off what we got in the first couple episodes. From the very start, we've gotten that impression that there's another Lane out there, or that Lane is accessing the wired without knowing it, and her personality changes. That's actually brought up directly via
Mhm.
dialogue as a possibility. Is that your personality can change on the wired, as
Yep.
it can when you use the internet. You can represent yourself in a way that you would never do in
Mhm.
real life.
Yep.
So I wonder how long the show will keep that as a narrative option, like continue to tease that. Is that actually Lane?
Yeah. It is 7 episodes more.
Oh, really? Well, now I know that in episode 11 there's going to be some big reveal.
No, 7 episodes more. Oh, Is that I thought we are in episode 6, so like
No, we
9
just watched
episodes
3 and
more.
4.
So that's why 9 episode more. You will
Oh,
know
until the
every-
end.
Until the end.
Okay.
No, just kidding. So what you make of the two guys on
The
the
two
car?
guys. Oh, the Men in Black.
Yep, the man in black.
They, to be honest, they're one of the least interesting parts of the show for me.
Mhm.
The way that the show is kind of doing its little dance, like, are they a figment of Lane's imagination? Are they? I mean, obviously they're not a figment of just Lane's imagination, because Lane's sister sees them at the end of episode 3 on their porch, and she's like, "Get out of here." And
Yep.
They leave.
Yep.
But even though she can see them, which proves that they're not just in Lane's head, this is the kind of show that might just be including those characters as like an allegory or an illusion or a metaphor. They don't necessarily have to exist. None of this necessarily, like, it doesn't need to be a perfect narrative piece.
Yep.
Those Men in Black can essentially represent anything, and the fact that they don't represent anything right now, and they could have any meaning, is stopping me from being very interested in them. Like,
Yep.
there's nothing concrete behind their presence that I think I'm supposed to take away or that I can take away yet. So I don't really care about them.
Right. And one more interesting question is, the title of the episode 4 is actually named religions.
Yes.
That is interesting. But do you take anything away from the title, religion, compared to
well-
like all the team it had been so far?
Well, they mentioned the Knights in episode 4.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
nice. Yep.
That the Knights kind of function as a religion, the religion of the Wired.
Yep.
But also Lane has been referred to as a god.
Yep.
So she would also be a religious figure in a sense for the users of the Wired.
Mhm.
I wonder if there's gonna be a conflict between Lane and the Knights as the story moves along, because they've kind of been established as the two major forces on
Yep.
the Wired. Even though Lane hasn't made that deep dive yet, and we haven't seen exactly how she's going to interface with it once she gets her Navi like up and running.
Mhm.
We still know that she's a big part of it, and we know that the Knights are a big part of it, even though we don't really know that much about the Knights at all.
Mhm.
So I don't think the term religion had a lot to do with the overarching quote unquote plot of episode 4, which was the augmented reality game.
Right. Yep.
But I do think that Lane is probably going to offer some kind of commentary on religion. Not religion
Religious.
as it exists in the physical world, but
Yep.
religion as the use of the internet and as the use of the Wired is a religion for a lot of people. It's something they devote themselves to fully.
Yep.
It's something that they essentially like create an idol for themselves out of the internet, and they worship it.
Yep.
So I don't know if it necessarily had to be the title of this episode, but certainly it's going to be a big theme, I think.
Well, that's an interesting train of thought.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
Lane is the type of series that if you follow it closely and you take a few notes,
Yep.
analyze it a little bit, you'll go to some pretty interesting places. in
That's
your head.
right. That's right. Well, it always has that ability, to it's not really a provocation shows, but it does ask a lot of questions. It make us think of a lot of issues, like a lot of themes.
Yeah.
So,
The
yes.
number one question being, what is going on?
Yeah. it even like who is Lane, who exactly is Lane,
Or what?
yeah, or what, right?
Yeah. I do want to add one thing to my comments about the Men in Black. The one time that I have been interested in them is when Lane destroyed their
Yep.
little
Yeah.
their wired goggles or their glasses. She destroyed them with some kind of I don't know, man.
powers. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it might be like as superpowers.
Yeah, she
powers.
uses some kind of, she sends out like a thought wave.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's pretty clear that Lane is already intricately connected with the Wired, even though she hasn't linked herself up yet. on her
Yep.
Navi.
Uh-huh.
She's like constantly getting messages from the Wired when she's in school in the middle of like a class.
Mm.
She can hear messages from that professor or that scientist who she's in contact with,
Yep.
and
See,
she hears a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I remember there's this girl who complains about a boy in a red and green striped shirt who's standing in her doorway.
yep. Yep. Yep.
Lane and I actually that was very specific, and the show drew careful attention to that complaint from that girl about that boy wearing that shirt. So I wonder if that will come back.
Hmm.
But Lane is always getting these messages, so she's already hooked up somehow.
Yep. Whew. All right. Any other things on your note?
Hell yeah.
All right.
What have you got? You got any? Am I missing anything? Like not in
Not,
terms of what happens after this, but anything from these episodes?
nah, nah. So far so good. So far, like on the question that I want to ask, I already ask.
All right, here's a random thought I had.
Yep.
I mean, I think the answer to this question is yes, but is Siberia even a real place?
All
Is
right.
it a
So
real physical location?
is that whole universe even real?
Not the whole. Well, yeah, that's also a question. But in regards to Siberia specifically, it struck me that when Lane revisited it in episode 3,
Yep.
and she had that conversation with the DJ and with the kids about the psyche chip,
Yep.
why would it even be open if a suicide had just taken place there?
Uh-huh.
Why wouldn't it be sealed off? You know, the
Yep.
police. It should be a crime scene. So how would Lane even have access to it? I think that maybe. I mean, it's possible that the everything that we've seen has been on the Wired,
Hmm.
or even that many parts of it are a dream or some other reality. You know, who knows? But Siberia in specific stuck out to me in episode
Hmm.
3. Like, why she shouldn't really be able to go here.
Yep.
It shouldn't be accessible to the public. So
All right.
I had
So,
that question.
yeah. If you ask Lens about like any like realistic, consequences, like
Yeah,
you
it doesn't really matter.
yeah, it's not really matter at all because Len is like creamy, Buddhist, and like everything doesn't make sense, or it might make sense when you get the better whole of everything.
Yeah. That's kind of why the Men in Black are not that interesting to me right now, because
Hmm.
who knows what they're I mean, the main thing that they're doing so far is adding a little bit of intrigue to the series, and also feeding Lane's paranoia,
Yep. And,
which will just make her want to escape into the Wired even more.
and maybe inform us that like because they basically just stalking Lens, so maybe talking about how important Len is as
Yeah.
the main characters, like main character powers.
Yeah, that's true. Like maybe what we're supposed to take away from their presence is that I don't know, they're like CIA agents or MI7 or whatever Japan's equivalent is, and
Oh.
they've heard the rumors, about Lane being a god, and they're like, oh well, we have to investigate this, blah blah blah. I don't know. I mean, that would be, if this were any other show, that would probably be their function.
Yep. All
But
right.
who knows what the deal is with it? I mean, honestly, I don't. Given the way that they've been, I'm not sure we'll ever know
Yep.
who or what they are. I think they're probably just there
Yeah.
to complement the atmosphere.
Yep. Right. So you still intriguing in Lens? You still like to watch more of Lens?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, honestly, talking about the show is just as interesting as watching it.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
That
it
you know,
is. It
so
is a bit of a slow watch
Yep. Hmm.
for me.
Yep.
So talking about it is helpful.
Yep. It's like one of the show that like you benefit a lot from, like just talk try to talk it out, try to like make sense of everything that happens.
Yeah. Oh, there is one more thing.
Yep.
The conversation between Lane's dad and Lane herself, when he
Uh-huh.
says the information is only a means of communication
Yep.
and transferring information, and Lane says, no, the line is not so clear.
Yep.
I mean, that I think is the distillation of the show's main theme, right
That's
there.
that's right. Yep. I would say that as well.
And that, I mean, that's a super relevant conversation today. Like, you know, the what kind of line is there between who you are as an individual and how you represent yourself, and also how you are represented by others on the
Yep.
internet.
Wow.
Uh,
So now it's a bit more of identity as well.
yes, yeah, for sure. And the way that Lane is changing, as you mentioned, she's there's a little bit more of an edge to her personality.
Hmm.
She's slightly more confident. She even like smirks at her dad as he's leaving the room near
Yep.
the end of episode 4, after she's like threatened essentially to dump her consciousness into the Wired.
Yep.
Um, she is changing. But the question is, was she? Since we don't know exactly who or what Lane is, maybe she was like this all along.
Hmm.
Um, and there's
Yeah.
she insists that she's still herself, like she hasn't changed. But she even the way that she's like visually, she looks so different. She's not dressing in the bear costume anymore.
Yep.
She's dressing in like the white. It's like a gown, kind of like a nightgown.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
that
right.
gives her. That, I mean that happens in episode 4, which is called Religion, and she's wearing pure white.
Yep.
So she might that might be there might be some religious significance there.
And that been addressed when her friend Arisus, like her reaction to it, like realizing that lane is changed. So from her reaction, I would say that it's not necessary for the better.
Yeah,
And also by what you say, lane changed into that white dress, whatever,
yeah,
from her sisters. That like her sister just said like, why you wearing this? Like it's the first time that she saw her wearing that kind of dress.
right. Yeah,
So
and she says it's to avoid static electricity,
yep,
static shocks, because of what the kid said in episode 3.
yep,
Um, yeah, so I mean, she does insist after her dad's like, don't lose yourself in the Wired. It's only supposed to be for communication.
Mhm.
She says, no, it's not that simple. And I have, but at the same time, she insists that she hasn't changed.
Yep,
So there's a contradiction there, really. Like if the Wired is more complicated than just being for communication and information sharing, if the Wired really is more than that, then it
Mhm.
can change you. It has that potential,
yep,
and we're seeing that clearly.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's, I mean, it seems to me that a lot of the show's different elements are working together like in harmony, to make the
yep.
same statements,
Wow,
which is good.
I'm really glad that you say that, because for me, Len asking a lot of like different questions. So it asks about religion, which we don't know that for sure. It asks about the line between reality and the virtual world. It asks sometime about the identity. And I'm glad that you say like everything working in harmonies. So it working on towards the same goals.
Yeah, it feels that way to me. Certainly, the show is dense with meaning.
Yep.
But I think that, and I think in part because episode 4 outlined the show's thesis so clearly with that conversation between um, the dad and Lane. I think that
Hmm.
really helps to kind of bring the way that all the elements of the show are working together.
Yep.
It makes that a lot more clear.
Yep.
And it's also a good conversation, like just in terms of how it's framed, how it's
Hmm.
shot, and how the characters talk to one another based on what we know about their dysfunctional
Yep.
relationship
Hmm.
and the obsession that the father has with technology. So if even he is cautioning his daughter,
Hmm.
then you know that this is a serious moment.
Yep. 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 That's right. All right. Well, I'm talking my pieces out of lanes. You have any other the thing to talk about?
There are a couple other small points, but we're about to hit a minute and 40, so
All
I'll
right.
leave it. I'll leave it there.
Yep. So just for the listeners who listen to into the end of this podcast, next week we're gonna have a week off, and then we come back for another 2 weeks, I think.
No, just
So
one.
oh, just 1 week. So like,
2 weeks from now, we'll do a podcast, and then we're gonna take another 2 weeks off.
all right.
Then on in mid October, we will do our impressions
Yep.
of the new fall season. So
Yep.
time's gonna fly. I
Yep.
mean, for us at least.
Don't miss us or anything.
That's right.
I'll
Hit that subscribe button.
oh, for those who already subscribe us, thank you for that.
Yeah,
You have
there's two
you
of
have
you.
our gratitude.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. I see you in 2 weeks.
All right, bye, folks.
Bye.